As we proceed to the next panel discussion on the day, we will get the stage set, and I will take the opportunity to also thank our sponsors. So I will request you all to please put your hands together in celebrating the sponsors who have made this event possible. So the event has been powered by S&T Group of Companies. Huge round of applause. Gold partner, Makino India Private Limited. Silver partner, Fibro India Precision Products Private Limited. Networking partner, Purohit Steel India Private Limited. And Muse Burger India Private Limited. The round of applause should continue as I name the lucky draw partner, Devview Tools Private Limited, and also ACE Designers Private Limited, Machining Center Division. And also a special mention for our associate partners, Syntec and 3M Tool Room. Huge round of applause for all the sponsors who have made the 8th edition of the International Tooling Summit 2024 so successful. And as we are getting the stage ready, may I mention the panelists and the moderator as well as the topic for discussion. This is only the second panel discussion. This is going to be on adapting to automotive industry shifts, preparing tool makers for the future. So are you future ready already? So faint. Let's have a huge round of applause as I request our moderator, Mr. Alok Jhamb, Managing Director of Voestalpine to High Performance Metals Private Limited, to please join us on stage here. He's going to be the moderator. I will also mention the names of the panelists. Oh, we did have a brief interaction some time back, off stage also just now while he participated with his feedback. May I request our eminent panelists to join us on stage. With a huge round of applause, I will request Mr. Ravi E., Executive Director, International Automobile Center Excellence, iACE, to please join us here. Moving forward, may I request Mr. Yogesh R., Morade, General Manager Operations, Die Shop Mahindra and Mahindra Nashik, to please join us here. Huge round of applause for all our eminent panelists. Huge round of applause for Mr. Yogesh R. Morade. He's the General Manager Operations, Die Shop Mahindra and Mahindra Limited, Nashik. Moving forward, may I request Mr. Guruprasad Puranmath to please join us here. He is the VP International Sales and Strategic Initiative, Mutual Engineering Private Limited. Huge round of applause. Next up is Mr. Praveen, Vice President, Toyotetsu India Auto Parts Private Limited, to please join us here. And finally, may I request Mr. Neel Bhadra Mani, General Manager, Head of Purchasing India, Vitesco Technologies, to please join us here. Let's have a huge round of applause for our panelists. Please enjoy the session.
So good evening, all of you. And we have a very interesting topic, adapting to the automotive industry shift. But before we start, maybe we can have a audience feedback on what does it mean? What is shifting in automotive? So please join the poll. Use your mobile phone to scan the QR code, and you will go to Slido survey. Click on the link you get, and you will see a poll. Go to the poll, please. Let's see if the technology works. Yes. So which type of car would you prefer the most? If you were to buy in next 1 or 2 years, what would you buy? maybe I ask Yogesh, what's your preference?
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Next car will be electrical for sure.
Electric, okay. Guru, so your preference? I think
Hello.
you'll see more of petrol here.
I don't know, my choice would be hybrid.
Hybrid, okay.
Yeah, so I
Why
would
as
also
well
go with the
hybrid?
hybrid.
Ah, okay.
I'm a huge fan of hybrids.
So we have some interesting results. It's quite a balance, and what's leading is hybrid or CNG, which is, I don't know whether it's surprising or it was given, but yeah, interesting. Of course, diesel was expected to be low. So some automotive manufacturers will be very happy with the results. Okay, we go to the next poll. So what is the body style of the car you prefer? When you are to buy the next car, will it be a sedan, a hatchback, or SUV, MUV? Our panel
SUV.
preference?
SUV.
SUV.
I use and I still prefer SUV.
So if I buy, probably I'd buy an SUV, but I would love to have a sedan, though it's slightly impractical given the road conditions.
So it's really interesting results again. So it's mostly SUV and mid-sized SUV, which has a preference, and that gives some messages to the OEMs. Shall we go to the next poll? What are the major changes or shifts happening in the automotive industry? Maybe you can type 1, 2, or 3 words here. Electric, lightweighting, EV, of course. Safety, continuous model changes and new features. Automatic transmission, design changes, interesting. EC2 EV, of course. High tensile usage. So I think we have very good feedback from the audience, and we can start with that. So Yogesh, I would like to start with you. So what are the shifts you are seeing? How the consumer taste is changing? Are you seeing new models being launched every year? Is the number of models increasing every year?
Am I audible? Let me just give a little bit brief. I'm here to present M&M as an OEM also, and M&M as a toolmaker also. So it's a little bit of a different role I'm here into. So you can see from the poll, which is a diverse audience here, like the shifts are moving from car or sedan to more of SUV, particularly in Indian market. People are more aware of the safety of the car, like people are aware of the NCAPs scoring, people are aware of CAFE, the fuel efficiency, people are more thinking of sustainability. So that's why you can see the shift in hybrid and electric. So still it is going to be a very dynamic world till the time we get some conclusion where how much percent will be EV, how much percent will be ICE or something. But the trends are fast changing. And now that puts OEM in a bit fix to launch the models very quickly, fast. Even though they are not able to completely replace the model, they are forced to make some refreshes. So just giving an example, Mahindra as a OEM, we have to come with many refreshes to fill in the gaps till we get new product. So similar is with all the automotives. So for any automotive, get a new program, new platform, it's a big time. So it has to be filled with refresh. And the big time model changing also, it's very challenging. And that way it will get cascade to the complete ecosystem for the tooling, for the supplies, and for the readiness. And with that, reducing volumes or market, shorter lead times and the life cycle or the less product cycle, the cost competitiveness will become a tremendous of importance in future. So that's what the shift is in the industry, and I think we are almost, India is also aligned to the global expectation of the customers.
So do you see this trend continuing? More and more
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
being
yeah.
launched
More and more
every year?
models will be need of that. So now we cannot take any customer for granted.
So this is good news for tooling industry, increased demand. So Guruprasad, I come to you next. What are the changes you see when it comes to aesthetics in a car? Is aesthetics becoming more important in the exterior of the car or the interior of the car? And since you come from plastic, maybe you can talk about plastics in the car.
Aesthetics, definitely yes. There is a lot of changes expected by OEMs. If you look at last 10 years back, the way the cars were being designed, and right now, it is totally different. And also in terms of tool making technologies, those are now easily available, and there are very competent tool makers who are doing it. Starting from high gloss parts, say gloss level more than 70, it is as good as painting kind of quality part. Then there is MIC molded in color. Then it is a ZPL, which is a combination working together from a product designer, tool maker, and a texture application vendor partner. Other than this, there is rock tool technology, fusion core and cavity technologies, which are ready available. So these are readily available. For this, the base remains is the mold designing, the selection of a tool steel, the mold flow, select the best gate locations and process parameters. So these things are readily available, and it is already happening.
Okay. But does it mean that the customers have started looking at the interiors more closely, which means, you need to focus more on the beauty of the car when it comes to plastics?
Very much. Like if you see the dashboard earlier, it used to be one integrated. Now it is more of a split. So in one dashboard has more than 4 variant. One is textured, one is laser textured, and now it is again wrapped components, and now also molded in color, which is as gloss as like a painted components. So it is in demand, and the capabilities are ready available here.
Yogesh, what about the exteriors of the car? Especially you come from the stamping and forming background on the sheet metal. So can you talk a little bit about the metal body?
Yeah. So earlier the styling of the vehicle was not so up to the mark like what we had of the European or American OEMs. And it was okay with Indian customers. But last couple of years, you can see that there is a dramatic shift in the way the products are designed. The styling team is becoming so knowledgeable. They are trying to benchmark. They are trying to put in the best of cars in one styling. Okay, so if you take an example of like Volkswagen or Audi, or Skoda, you see how the exterior designs are done, what the sharper lines, they call it as a tornado line, feature line, what the gaps and flushness, and everybody is trying to benchmark. And earlier the gaps and fits and flushness, it was not known so to many people, but now it is a must. Other than the functionality and the performance of the vehicle, the exterior also, the appeal, how your car looks like, how the seal outs coming, how it is painted, how the paint quality is now becoming important, how the life of the exterior becomes durable. So all this comes into a picture when you talk of an exterior, like he said about interior, how the interior completely game is changing now from dashboard, analog dashboard to digital, then multiple things. Similarly, you need a lot of aggressive lamps, aggressive tail lamps, aggressive exteriors, and that to have all plastic, then your glass, and then sheet metal, all put together have to have a harmony in terms of gaps, flushness, and paint quality. So that, and coming to Indian customers, now they have a lot of offerings from other OEMs. So they are not going to now shell you out like this is okay and this is, I'm going to accept it. So that way the stylings are becoming very, I'll take 30 seconds extra for this question because now the styling is coming into the tractor business also. We are just handling the tractor business also for tooling development. So there also the sheet metal tractor design is also becoming a selling point or talking point. Earlier the sheet metal in the tractor, it was just to cover up the engine. But now it is all changed. So that way the exterior becomes important and it is going to put some challenges to the tooling industry.
Yeah, very interesting. I want to talk a little bit about lightweighting, Praveen, and you and Yogesh are quite into this game. So for a component manufacturer like Toyotetsu, what does it mean? What are the trends you see in lightweighting?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Tagma, for having me on this panel. It's a privilege to share this with all of you esteemed and knowledgeable people. And thanks, Alok sir. Before I start with that, let me put in context why our company I'm representing here. So I represent a company called Toyotetsu, and we are a tier 1 to some of the OEMs in India. Globally, we are mainly present in Toyota, but in India, we are equally present in Toyota, Maruti Suzuki supply chain, and we also contribute to some extent to Kia and Hyundai. So we supply stamped and welded assemblies, and we are an MNC headquartered in Japan, and in India we have 3 plants. So coming to your question, in the last audience poll, there were so many responses. What it basically reflects is there's frankly nothing which can be firmly said as this is what is happening. The question was, what do you think is happening in the automotive industry? Something to that effect. But the number of answers, very clearly demonstrates that there is too much happening in the industry. So one of them is lightweighting, and so lightweighting for various reasons. So how does the stamping industry, particularly tier 1s like us, how do we play a role in that? Is the shell, the body, and the frame, which are hidden behind the skins that the OEMs make. So that is where the bulk of the weight happens, if you forget the functional, the engine and transmission and other things. So lightweighting is happening in terms of 3 methods to the extent that we understand globally. One is use of high tensile material, that is having a higher MPa so that it can take, you can reduce the thickness of the part, okay? But it comes with its own challenges of manufacturability as well as tooling preparation. That's number 1. The second one, if you go forward, is there's another technology which is hot stamping, which is prevalent in many other geographies, not so prevalent in India, because it again comes with its own drawbacks. So cold stamping is what I am talking, I'm not qualified to talk on hot stamping. The third technology that's happening, again, probably not in India, at least not in the normal vehicles we are talking about, maybe the high-end vehicles might be happening, is lightweighting in the real sense of changing the material itself to aluminum or composites, or maybe even hybrid structures where you have an assembly done with resins and steel married together in some form of adhesive use or anything. So in India, we are operating only in the lightweighting using high tensile material. So we are a company coming to the tooling aspects of India. So we are a company, globally we have tool rooms, but in India, unfortunately, we have not set out in that direction as yet, because we haven't found a good business case to do that. However, let's suffice to say that in the last 10 years, we have achieved localization without any capability in-house, completely falling back on the partners we have in the country. We have achieved about 85% quantity-wise. Of course, I cannot say that for the value, but quantity-wise, for all the programs in the last 3 years that we have delivered to the OEMs.
Where is the balance 15% going?
It comes from either Japan or Indonesia or China, a small amount from
And
Turkey.
what is the major reason for the imports?
Again, there are a multitude of things. Sometimes it is the part requirement. We feel that that level of capability is yet to come into the market here. Sometimes it might be the time required to develop it, which may not match the OE's requirement. And on a few occasions, it's purely the point of I have a basket of parts to localize. Now, I can do very critical parts and avoid localizing a bigger chunk of parts because I will eat away a lot of time of the tool room when I'm doing very difficult parts here. Or I can leave the difficult parts to the other country and achieve the quantity localization here. So it's a very difficult balance we try to do, and we take either of the two calls.
Yogesh, would you like to add something to that related to lightweighting?
Yeah, lightweighting, what he says, right. So it's a different ball game altogether. Like skin aesthetic part is a different ball game. And the lightweighting, handling DP 590, 780, 980, and up to 1180 is a different ball game. So what he says, right, still they have to import some percentage. Then I will a little bit add to this skin panel, or what you say is aesthetic parts. Like they are basically 18 to 20 parts in a vehicle, which constitutes the aesthetics of vehicle, like all closure, door outers, hood. And still, even though we have a captive tool room or die shop in plant, okay, so still we are not able to make 100% of any program in-house. Still we have to go out. So maybe we could achieve around 70-75% of any program in a given time frame. So still 20-25% we have to go out. And as a tool maker, this is fraternity, we have a big opportunity for lightweighting of the vehicle, the 980 and above parts, and especially the skin panels. I think we interact with many OEMs like Toyota, Hyundai, Honda, Kia. So I think most of the people getting their A category dies or skin panel dies still imported. Many of them are still importing. I think the overall percentage shown in the industry study is overall stamping parts, right? This is around some percentage. But if you still categorize into skin panel or A category versus and high category, I think the percentage of import is still very high. So maybe Nomura studies or the TAGMA studies can little bit deep dive on that subject. But our experience that A category still many OEMs put together, they are still going out. Because this A category skin, like he said, there are challenges in high strength. So similarly, A category, making A category like body side, fender, closure outer, it requires different kind of capabilities, skill sets, technology, and the experience. So that's what the new styling and the lightweighting has a challenge, but a very, very big opportunity for this fraternity setting here.
That's good news for the industry. Neel, I come to you, and with your background, can you tell us a little bit about what's changing in the electronics inside the car, which is relevant for the tooling fraternity?
Yeah. So my background, I represent a company called Vitesco Technologies, which is into powertrain domain, and we make products or modules for ICE as well as for electrification vehicles. And what is changing is the electronics content is increasing. Even we have now a concept called software-defined vehicles, which means the electronics is the hardware and the backbone, and software is driving the vehicle because of the customization needs or preferences. So people want mood lighting, people want gesture control. Earlier it was touch function, now it is also moving to gesture control modules. People want the screen to become bigger. The instrument panel, which was having analog pointers, is now becoming digital. So all and all, electronics is increasing. And when electronics is increasing, it generates more heat inside the housing or the casing, which means you have to make the toolings more precise, more resistant to the material which can handle this. So that is where the major shift is happening. And people want to customize their car inside. So other than the static parts, they want to customize their car. And that's where electronics plays a major role.
Great. So there is opportunity for the tool rooms to cater to the, changing needs within electronics, within the car.
Yeah,
So,
for sure, and all these components are highly, highly precise.
I want to talk a little bit about the EV part. Yeah. So, what are the hurdles being faced by OEMs manufacturing EV cars when it comes to tooling? Is there any major challenge, or is it within control?
The major challenge or the major competition what the EV manufacturers face is the vehicle development lead time has reduced. As it is, it has reduced for the ICE vehicles, but for EVs, it has increased, reduced drastically. So earlier, the conventional vehicles used to have 3 to 4 years development lead time from the beginning. Now it is 12 to 18 months. This means putting more pressure on the tool room or the last guy standing in the chain, that he has to accomplish everything more, and also he has to become more and more like a module supplier. He has to become a design partner. Like we have a concept called early supplier involvement, and we want all our molders or tool makers to become our design partner. That is a very basic thing what we need, and that's what electric vehicle manufacturers are requiring, because they are focusing more on the features of the vehicle. They want to leave this to the expertise what the tooling guys have or what the molding guys have, so that they can bring in their expertise during the design phase, and that can be incorporated. And this gives them an advantage to win the business if they are involved in the early supplier phase.
We heard also from Ether Energy that the agility is becoming important. Yeah, that can only happen with a much closer collaboration with the tooling and the OEM manufacturer. Yeah?
Agility plus the mindset change from a build to print supplier to a real value adder supplier. What value do you add to the product itself? What value do you add to the whole value chain? That is becoming more and more important.
Okay, great. So finally we come to the mold making, and that's where the whole discussion is about. So Guruprasad, what are the specific challenges that tool makers are facing in meeting the specific requirements of the ICE and the EV manufacturers?
So not just limiting to automotive, it is now regardless of anything, whether it is die making, sheet metal or injection mold making. So the challenges I would categorize into three, I can say. The first thing is the talent. The talent is ready available. What Mr. Syed already spoke, that is that to have EVI vendor on board in a very early stage. What I say it like 70% of your component design is ready, 30% of my tool making activity has to start in parallel. Stay, I'm doing all co-designing of your B surface part in parallel and making the development activity simplified. And parallelly, I'm blocking my steels, doing concurrent engineering. This is a talent which is ready available, and most of OEM has started doing it. It is request to all tier 1s and OEMs to have vendor on board in a very early stage, and that too, to have commercials also to be closed in a similar way. Second T I would categorize as a trust. So almost all the OEMs and tier 1s have a relation with any tool maker for more than 5 to 60 years. Still, they are asking for a bank guarantees. So I would say instead of bank guarantees, it has to replace with a corporate guarantee. The reason being is his limit gets blocked. Even when it becomes a corporate guarantee, he can fund that his two working operational activities and pay his vendors well in time and make it more competitive and pass on that back to the customer. So third part is a technology. So toolmaker need not to upgrade their technologies every now and then, say every year the new technology, some or the other way it is going to come. So it should not be a continuous investment in a technology, better it has to be a continual investment into a technology. Like what Mr. Agarwal said from Motherson, so like there is more of automation happening in a tool room, yes, definitely yes. It is there in Europe and US where manpower, there is a limitation. So a few months back, I was in Europe. I happened to discuss with one of tool makers. They call it as a light off. Means not even the lights and the fans are off, but still the machines are running. So that need not to be adapted even now very quickly in India. The time will come, maybe 5 to 6 years later. That we'll have to do. For that, before automation and robotization, the first thing we'll have to step in doing as standardization first. So for me, these 3 T's are very important.
Very interesting. So within automotive, what are the new business areas mold makers can look at? And what are the challenges?
I can say our own example. Last 7-8 years back, we were asked by one of our customer to do 2K molds, but we didn't have that technology or learning process. But they started with one of a repeat tool. We learned by just doing a repeat tool, and thereby we started having one of a molding machine for trials. There are hardly any tool makers who do have molding machine for trials. So that is one area where tool maker can step in with a committed customer who is going to promise them some business. Without that, should not be doing it at all. So second big area, by and large, still the lighting molds have been imported. So this was the initiative which we had taken last 4-5 years back, but could not do much about it because of COVID and many other reasons. So when it comes to lighting mold, is a typical very specialization, I can say. So designing part, again, understanding the rheology, polymer behavior. So machining centers which are with high RPM, say 40,000 RPM, with 0.1 cutter. And then the stock for finishing is just 1 or 2 microns. It is not even steel removing, it is just rubbing. And no hand touch at all for any of your core and cavity inserts. So that is a kind of a specialization which is available, but we know it, but we do not know how to exactly bring that into a culture within ourselves. So, and next is again the processing. Even the 2K and 3K molds, like we have a rotary platen and triplicate injection or parallel injection. The same I could see tool makers many in Europe, even in Asia. They have a rotary platen even fixed on their die spotting press to see the repeatability. So that is a kind of the expertise they have right now. So looking at this all, it is not that easy. Even we had this ambition to enter into this lighting business. So last, early this year, we have entered into a joint venture with a Korean light making company. So it is more of specializing hand holding for us and not exposing everybody within my team set of few tool makers. I've been directly discussing with them, understanding they come here for training. So this is where step by step we are going. So that is one of an area which is very niche and the profitable margins would be quite high. I would ask, step by step, if somebody is going to initiate that, start with lenses at least.
So I would like to ask a final question open to all. How can the Indian tool manufacturers be supported in the shift in the automotive trend? What can be done to support the Indian tooling fraternity?
Shall I take the question? Yeah. So, as the subject of the discussion says, that preparing tool makers for the future. So I presume, what is a tier 1's role in, say, preparing, or if not preparing, I think that is probably a too heavy word, but at least ensuring that they have sufficient time to prepare is the bare minimum that we can do. Okay, so from Toyotetsu, just to put it in perspective, in the last 2 years, what we have done with some of the tool makers here, particularly people who understand the press side of the activity, will tell you that there are some partners who are sitting here who have executed 10 transfer lines in a period of about 7 months. Okay, those partners are sitting here. Just so that I don't leave out any names, I'm not taking the name. What I'm trying to say is that the capability is available in our perspective. It's broadly available. And the willingness is available. There's a lot of risk when we give such an order that the tool maker takes on himself to deliver, because tooling is not, none of the vendors are wedded just to us, right? They're wedded to so many other customers too. So they're taking a very heavy risk, but still we have been able to deliver all our OE's requirements, which almost no failure. That's because the capabilities already exist. The challenge when it comes to lightweighting or in the future is, one is that the automotive market is projected by everyone that it will touch 6 million or 5 million. God knows where it will go in the next 1.5 decades. But please understand, if that many vehicles are to come, and assuming a decent amount of lightweighting happens, still the tooling capacity is probably, you required it maybe twice. I don't know how much more, because every additional volume we have to assume is coming from a new model and not that the existing models are creating the additional volume. So we have to presume that tooling is required. From that perspective, I think the large tool rooms are fairly well placed to move into the next league. But the question is, when they move into the next league, are the next level of tool makers, are they well placed enough to fill in the gaps that are being created by the top-notch tool makers who are there? And they are having some problem. So what can a tier one like us do, or what we have been at least in spirit trying to do, is that we work with all the main tool makers, but we have also in the last few years developed those tool makers who were probably working on smaller tonnage tools or lower capability tools. Now we make them capable of doing transfer dies or progressive dies, which is more difficult to do. So that when really the automotive requirements go and our customer expects us to do 80%, 90%, 100% localization, we are well stationed that the risk or the capabilities to be built across the supply chain. It cannot be done at one end, because the tool makers by themselves are more capable than the tier ones to understand where they are and what is the gap. We can only fill in by this preparation, and we can fill in by giving them some heads up on what type of requirements are there 2 years down the line, or 1 year down the line, or 3 years down the line. And sometimes if we have the capability, we can help them in developing commodities now. Difficult part, you order it. Usually the struggle happens either at the design stage or at the proving stage. That's the first 10-15% or the last 10-15%. In between, there's nothing that the tier one is going to do except good project management. So if we have the capability to support them and own the project along with them, that's the contribution that a tier one can do. And that's what we have been trying. So broadly, the focus is, what is it that we bring to the table to the tool maker? I know what the tool maker brings to the table to me. That is very clearly defined. But if the same question the tool maker were to ask me, what do you bring to the table, keeping the commercial side aside, what do you bring to the table? We would like to get out of that discussion saying, not only the commercial aspect of it, we brought in this knowledge, or we brought in some management method, something we could contribute to you, to the tool maker and the tool making ecosystem in the country. This is what I think a tier one like us can definitely contribute.
Right. And Yogesh, what can the OEM do for the tool maker?
I think this question we have to look at from three perspectives. Okay, there are three important stakeholders. Suppose I'm at center and I'm a tool maker. He's my OEM and he's my further supplier. So I have to take the onus on me. Okay, we have this forum, governments, TACMA, everything. But first, I have to keep that focus on onus on me. As a tool room or as a tool maker, whether I'm a small, big, or very big, I have to set my goals right. Like morning we are seeing in the presentation, we should have KMI, KPIs, and everything. So what I want to achieve, that we should set first, right? Then, and then we should achieve it. So from OEM, we can just support, like I can talk from both perspectives, like what OEM can give or cannot give and what tool maker can expect. So proactive engagement, concurrent engineering, that's what OEM can do with you. And you can proactively participate in the concurrent phases, right from the styling also. I don't know, some people, company may allow, some company may not allow. Second thought, as a tool maker, okay, this is on a strategy level, and what value proposition I bring into the OEM, not only make a tool, whether my tool is reliable, my tool is durable, my tool has got a life costing done, so he has got a peaceful sleeps, and what value I is bringing to him. So that is most important. Like we saw, it is not from tool making or operational, it is from what customer value proposition we are doing. So that is as a very strategic level we should. So, and then we will just give our plants or tool making example. So earlier we started with making stamping dies of simple compounds. Then we set a target that we want to move from this value chain to this value chain. And once we thought, why not to go into fixtures, welding fixtures or body welding, then why not to go to robot? Then we did robots. Then we did a body shop. And then we thought we have a control, automation and robotic knowledge. Why don't we go into the engine side? Why don't we go to the assembly line automation? So we have to decide how we go one step up in 1 year time, 2 year time, and make place for others to fill in that place. Okay, what I was doing, let somebody do that. I do next level. Next 2 years, I do the next level. Okay, and that way we have to think where I am moving, where I can help others to come in, so that the complete ecosystem gets developed. And what we depend on import to other countries, or we depend on so many suppliers. So that is so important. And I would like to put 3 points as a tool maker. Okay, since morning we see there are a lot of challenges. There is a skill. I think the point was by Tata team. Point is, if we don't pass it to the next generation, and if they are not interested, what will happen to this industry? So how I become a preferred supplier to my customer? How I become a preferred customer to my suppliers? And how I become a preferred employer to my employees? Okay, it is not about salary, it is not about skills. How I become a preferred employer? What is in store for that guy to come, do a design, do an engineering, do a tool tryout, do a die assembly, do work, okay? And many people say tool room is a full room job. Okay, so but let us not look at that point of view. So as a business, as a tool room business or a tool making, how I look at this, how I become a preferred, that somebody should come and this is the part, this is the component, this is the commodity, this is my preferred, whether it's L1, L2, I'll look at later. Okay, so he only talks of your capability, your consistency and your time. And we were discussing with many OEMs last time. Now quality nobody discuss, everybody discuss time. And we got very open feedback from that. People from China not preferring China for that because we are shorter in time. It is not. We do agree. So on the time to develop tool, time to prove out the tool, time to deliver the tool, it's still long way to go. So if we are, as a commodity, we are able to crack that, I think quality, nobody is going to discuss henceforth. And cost, I think many people are coming to that mindset, not L1, L2, but what is the value proposition the tool maker is bringing, what is he bringing to me, what I am bringing to you. And I think last session, Mr. Agrawal said, it is not competing, it's collaborative. So collaborative is going to be mantra for future. Like Korea, we have seen many die maker, they have 5 CNC machines, and somebody in India, we have 20 CNC machines. They make more tools or molds than what we make with 20 CNC. So how as a fraternity, how as an industry, how as an ecosystem, we collaborate each other, and we see that from the same resources, how the overall industry gets multiple times. So that is what a short take, as a tool maker, I can add my value.
Neel, any final thoughts?
Yeah, in our company, we are already seeing the shift. Earlier, it used to happen that wherever the technology is available best, like we are a German company, so they say wherever the technology is best, you get it developed from there. Don't try and explore. Now, we are already seeing a shift. Our company, our global counterparts are saying, if this technology, especially on the mechanical parts, is available in India, why don't you propose an Indian supplier? We will send our supplier quality colleagues or our technical experts to train them on the product itself. We cannot train them on tooling because we are not a tooling expert. We generally deal with the mold makers, the molders or the component supplier. But we are seeing a shift that our global counterparts are willing to invest here, at least the know-how what they have about the product. So now the shift, and earlier it was a simple concept that just go to the total landed cost concept, wherever you are getting the best, do it. But now the shift is happening. They are saying, can you do local for local? If the customer is local, why do you want the product to come from Germany or US or, so this shift is happening. This I have seen from 2019 till 2024. So in 2019-20, nobody allowed us to touch those parts. They said no discussion, simply go where the technology is best or go where the landed cost is best. But now they are saying, if you have a local customer, why don't you try local for local? So they are willing to explore. So at least this shift we are seeing in our company. This may be because of China barrier, this may be because of the COVID supply chain disruptions, what we have seen, but this is a very good opportunity for all of us as toolmaker, tier 1, tier 2 module suppliers to encash this opportunity. If we miss the bus this time, then it may be too late for us to catch again.
So Guru, you have a final word. What's your confidence level to adapt to the shift as a mold maker?
So from where Mr. Yogesh had started, why I should be a preferred partner or preferred vendor. So first thing is, no doubt we are engaged in a very early stage to simplify the product. So however, the mold out die is ready and it is going for a production. The next biggest thing what toolmakers should start frequently discussing with customer, even at the time of negotiation, is on the cycle times. So this mold would cost you this much, but in return that is going to give you a lower cycle time and less reduction, and these are the different ways of while we are discussing on the cost front. So there, when you have the mold which is running at a lower cycle time, then there is more of an input cost going into it. Could be the higher thermal conductivity, tool steels, 3D printed inserts, or many other things in terms of hot-runner systems, or many critical mechanisms. So these are one thing we should be start discussing with the customer, where we can add equally very value on bringing the product cost down, not the mold cost down.
Thank you. So before we conclude, maybe we can have a final poll from the audience. So what do you think is the level of preparedness of the Indian tool makers to adapt to the changes we discussed in the automotive industry? On the left side is very low, on the right side is very high, and in between it's self-evident. See the score. We should have at least 100 votes, please. So I think we are getting high confidence, I would say. May not be perfect, but the confidence level is reasonably high to adapt to the changes. So with that, we would like to conclude our panel discussion. It was very enjoyable. Thank you very much. And I hope the audience enjoyed the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's have a huge round of applause to say that we did enjoy it. It was an engaging panel discussion. The second one for today and the final panel discussion for today. Huge round of applause for our panelists. We have more sessions to follow. So may I request Mr. Alok Jhamb to please take center stage to felicitate our eminent panelists. Huge round of applause. May I request Mr. Yogesh to please come forward to be felicitated. Mr. Yogesh, huge round of applause. Calls for a perfect photo op. May I request Mr. Guruprasad to please join in the celebration. Huge round of applause for all our eminent panelists. May I request Mr. Praveen to please be honored. Huge round of applause. Calls for a perfect photo op. May I request Mr. Neel to please join us here in front stage. Huge round of applause. And now for the moderator, may I request Mr. Akshay Kalyanpur, EC member, to please do the honors. Huge round of applause for the moderator and the panelists. Let's have a group photo op with all the panelists. Huge round of applause. This was only the second panel discussion and really engaging one. Thank you, gentlemen. I hope we are taking this conversation forward online as well with the hashtag. We already know the hashtag, right? It is hashtag ITS 2024. So while we put together the stage for the technical session, we'll request the stage to be set for the technical session. This is the last technical session of the day. And may I request Mr. Dinesh Singh Thakur, Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering and Director, Planning and Policy and NEP Defense Institute of Advanced Technology, to please join us here. His topic is Microfactory from the Indian tooling perspective. Huge round of applause for Mr. Dinesh Singh Thakur. It's a technical presentation, so please. Let's have a huge round of applause while Sir takes center stage. Thank you.